Hello and welcome to LT's Garage. Thanks for joining me today, and please remember that you can follow me on Facebook at LT's Garage and Instagram at LTS_garage. Today I'm going to show you how I made this faux stone pumpkin container. So I'm starting with this little Dollar Tree pumpkin, and I'm going to be creating a texture on it. These pumpkins are, well, they are exactly what you pay for, a dollar pumpkin. So I'm going to use this little glass. I'm hoping to use this pumpkin kind of like a little vase, and so the glass will be inside the pumpkin. So it happens to be about the same size as the circle that's already on the seam, I guess from manufacturing, that's already on the pumpkin. So I'm just using my X-Acto knife and cutting that circle out. I'm going to, oh, it doesn't fit, so I need to cut a little bit more. And once I have my circle where I want it, I'm going to show you how I make this texture to cover up these seams and just give this pumpkin a really cool stone look. I'm going to be using sawdust. I have a couple cans here. One's a little bit coarse and this one's finer. I'm going to use the finer sawdust. I have this bag of sawdust that I've collected from past wood projects, and I've run it through this strainer from Dollar Tree, and it gives me this coarser size. Then I run it again through this smaller strainer, and it gives me this finer sawdust, which is what I need for the technique that I'm going to do today. I've used this in the past for different crafts, like to create snow texture on things, but this is the first time I've ever tried to create a texture on just an all over texture on an item. I exit stage right to get some more paint. The bottle I had didn't have enough paint in it. And I'm adding glue to my paint. And then I'm going to mix in the sawdust. So I don't know, I think I'm using maybe about a quarter cup. Well, probably not, because this is just a little, one of those little fruit cups. So probably not even a quarter cup of couple of tablespoons of sawdust. I end up adding a little bit more paint and even a couple teaspoons of water. I get this soupy mixture. Again, it's just probably a tablespoon or tablespoon and a half of paint, tablespoon of glue, and a couple tablespoons of sawdust, and 1 or 2 teaspoons of water, just kind of to get this consistency that you're seeing me dab all over this pumpkin. And again, I'm dabbing using this sponge brush and just pouncing it all over because I want it to create texture. I'm trying to really cover those seams and create this really cool bumpy texture. It'll when we're all done, it's gonna look like stone. It turns out so cool. So I also decided that while I'm at it, I'm going to cover one of these candle holders that I also purchased at the Dollar Tree. They're fairly nice ceramic candle holders. They're a little wobbly, so I put little felt pads on the bottom of mine, and they do have some manufacturing flaws. Some of them are a little bit crooked, but if you look through them, you can find one that's not too bad. And if you use this technique on it, it will turn out really cool. So I let these dry overnight. I wanted to make sure that the texture was dried really well, and so I gave it plenty of time. And you can see how cool this looks already. I mean, it's probably hard to see. It looked really cool to me as I'm looking at it. But I'm going to go ahead and paint this now with Waverly chalk paint. This is the plaster color. I actually am using, this paintbrush is too small. You should use a larger one. I was worried that I'd be able to get the paint in all the little crevices, and so I thought, oh, I'll just use this small, stiffer paintbrush, but you could actually use a much larger paintbrush and get plenty of paint on there and in the crevices. But as you can see, I'm making sure I'm brushing, but I'm also dabbing because I'm wanting to get the paint in all the little crevices and holes. Again, this sawdust technique, that little mixture of sawdust, glue, and paint, I've used this before to create a fake snow look on different craft projects. This is, again, my first time experimenting with putting it all over something. So I'm really excited how this turns out. So here I am, continuing to dab paint all over. I should sing music, huh? One of the things I know that a lot of people, it's November, so people have moved on to more of Christmas type projects. I am stuck in Thanksgiving mode, so I still have a couple of Thanksgiving projects that I'm going to post, but this one, rather than focusing on the fact that I'm creating a faux stone pumpkin, I hope that you're able to just see the technique for what it is, and this cool texturing technique, and that you'll be able to imagine the things that you can cover with this sawdust mixture and create your own faux stone look. So after I finished painting, I realized that there's some sharp points that are created, and so I actually decided to sand those off, and I've already sanded some of this, but I'm going to go ahead and finish sanding all those sharp points down. And this actually gives it even a cooler look once you sand those sharp points off. It gives it more of that, I don't know what you would call it. I kept thinking of like old pottery and stuff that you might see that's kind of pitted and just antiqued. And so that's kind of how this turns out. So after I've sanded, I'm going to give another coat of paint to these things, to the pumpkin and the candle holder. I give a real liberal coat and really thick coat of paint, making sure that I get in all those little holes and crevices made by the texture. I think that probably I could have sanded right after the original texture dried, rather than, because you know how I let the texture dry, then I painted it and then sanded it. I think I could have sanded it before I painted it and gotten away with only one good coat of paint. Here is a craft stick that I've painted, and I have finished half of it with a clear coat. And now I'm going to show you the difference that it makes to apply that clear coat before antiquing. This is an antique medium made by Folk Art. And I have always used this antiquing gel, and I really like it. You can see on this one end that's dark, that's the end that I did not spray with a clear coat, and the antiquing medium just soaks right into the wood. I'm using a little water on a cloth, and you can see that it'll take a little bit more of the medium off, but it's still pretty dark. But on the end that I sprayed, the antiquing medium goes into the cracks of the wood and gives that antique finish. This is the Krylon matte finish that I used. You can get it in satin or glossy. I just prefer the matte. Here's my pumpkin. I've sprayed it with the matte finish, and now I'm going to just load it up with this antiquing gel. I'm just putting it all over and making sure I get it down in all the little holes, because that's where I want it to stay, is in all those crevices and holes. That's what's going to give this the really old pottery look that I want it to have. So once I have that on there, then I'm just going to take a rag and wipe it off. You wipe on, wipe off, or no, brush on, wipe off. And I'm going over the raised areas on my pumpkin a little bit extra and making sure that I highlight those and leave the crevices dark and give it that really cool antique look. So here it is, a little bit closer. It's really hard to tell on camera how cool this looks, but it's amazing that it looks like old stone. It really turned out awesome. Hard to believe it's a dollar foam pumpkin from Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and do a little flower arrangement in this. I do have it, I did make it so that I could put this glass in it and put some live flowers in it when I'm ready. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just do a little flower arrangement with some of the fall florals that I still have on hand. Here's my messy moss. I'm just going to cut some of that out of the bag and put in here. I like to cut it rather than try and pull it because it will make a mess. Messy moss is not its official name, by the way. So again, here are some bits and pieces of fall colored, just fake florals that I had. I'm just going to use some of the pieces that I like, the berries and flowers and some of the filler, and make a little arrangement here. So again, I know many of you have moved on to Christmas. I hope that you can take a look at this technique for what it is and the opportunity that it gives you to take something, anything, really any container or a piece of wood or whatever, and use this technique to create an interesting texture, faux stone look. I just think this little planner turned out fabulous. Really, really pleased with it. I'm really happy that I decided to experiment with this. Love the way the candle holder turned out as well. As I was messing around with them, I thought, oh, this could be a stand. I can make a little pumpkin planter urn. Anyway, really fun. Here's a couple of close-ups. Just hope that you'll take the opportunity to try this technique and create something fun yourself. Just a couple of hours and $1 or $2, and you have just a fabulous project that you can be really proud of. Here it is on the stand. Kind of fun. I thought this pumpkin would look really cute with a succulent in it too, but didn't have one on hand. So here's my candle holder and the last look at my pumpkin. Really fun faux stone technique. Give it a try. Let me know in the comments below if you do and what you tried it on. Thanks for joining me today. Please hit that like button and please subscribe so that you'll be one of the first to know when I post my fantastic Christmas videos coming up soon. I hope that you'll share this with someone else who might enjoy it, and I'll see you soon.